Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kasper On BI I. Today is a holiday here in the Netherlands, so I thought what better time to talk a little bit to you about the new hot feature that everyone talks about, just released at Build 2022, called Datamarts. So you've probably already seen Adam Saxton's video or read Matthew Roach's blog post. I'll put both of them in the description. There's a lot of documentation around it, but there are some questions, there are some things, and I really wanted to share with you why I'm excited about it. But first, let's take one step back. What is Datamarts? Datamarts is a fully managed SaaS service, no code required, to do an end-to-end analytics project. It is available in premium and PPU, so that's insane price for what you get. And you can do analytics end-to-end. It starts by connecting to the data. You can connect to any data source using our beloved Power Query engine. Any data source that you have, you can connect to it, load that data into Power BI, existing data flows, and we'll get back to data flows in a bit, but use existing data flows to load your data into a data mart. And loading that data into a data mart is where things get really interesting, because the data that you load into a data mart is actually loaded into a fully managed by us SQL Server. So you don't need to use any Azure or anything to create SQL servers. No, Power BI, as soon as you create a data mart, will create a SQL server for you under the covers, and it will land all the data into it. And it has a lot of benefits by us doing so. So it lands the data into SQL Server. Right now, there's a limit to 100 GB per database. So that's quite a lot of data that you can put in there. And it's fast out of the box. You don't need to know anything about compressions and partitions and all of these things. Datamarts will create some column store indexes under the covers, so it will be fast. Now, imagine that you have some data sources. So you have an SAP environment and you have some Excel spreadsheets, and you have like the common problem that you have in any BI project. You connect to those data sources, you do your ETL just like you've always done inside of Power BI Desktop or in data flows, but now you do them in Datamarts. That data now gets landed inside of that SQL Server database. For every query that you have inside of Power Query / the data flows, it creates a new table into the data mart, and that data then gets loaded into that data mart. Now, the cool thing here is there's a lot of things you can do with it. First of all, you can connect to it with any tool that SQL Server supports. Okay, that is a huge bonus, a huge win. So for example, you can connect to it with Power BI, which is obvious, but also SSMS, Excel, R, Python, you name it, you can connect to it because it can connect to anything that speaks SQL. Today, you cannot change anything. If you want to make changes, you have to go to your Power Query or to your data flow and make the changes there and rename the columns or things like this. And then it automatically gets back affected into the data mart. Okay, now, this is the first part. So we're landing the data. Now we can start enriching it. Okay, full-blown web editor experience is available for you to create a model. It automatically generates a Power BI dataset too. You can create relationships. You can create measures in a web editor. So, okay, today you're using a Mac. Maybe you want to start using a bit more Power BI directly from your MacBook. Well, go to the web and you can do anything there. Of course, it is limited today. It's still early days. There's still a preview. So there's some things that you cannot do that you need to go to Power BI Desktop, but you can do a lot of things already inside of the web, inside of the editor, like relationships, and you can actually write measures. You cannot use create calculated tables or calculated columns because that would change the model. Again, if you want to do this, go back to your initial steps in the ingestion of the data, and then you can add the column there. So use Power Query instead of DAX to do it. Some really cool features here, for example, too, that are the same as you would do them inside of a data set. You can create row level security. And that row level security that you create inside of this data mart can be used in two different ways. One, in the reports that you create on top, simple, straightforward. We understand this. The second, though, it also is applied to the SQL Server database under the covers. Okay, so that row level security that you apply when you connect with SSMS, that row level security is still there. When you connect with any other tool to the data mart, that row level security that you define is automatically applied. So this is really cool. So the way to think about it is it's really one analytics product that gives you the full end-to-end experience. Okay. And now the other cool thing is, because it's that full analytics end-to-end experience and you create that row level security, you can even share it with people outside of your organization. So with B2B, it works, including the row level security that you define. So you define that row level security on top of it, you can share it with people outside of your organization. They can connect to it, they can get the data that they want. So it's really an end-to-end solution. Of course, it is mostly targeted today, at least parts of it, to business users. It is not right now for a full-blown enterprise-wide deployment. For that, you will still probably use your Synapse environment because it's larger than 100 gigs, and there's a lot of things you can do here with that environment you cannot do here. You would use Tableau Editor to create the model because you cannot make any of these changes there. But don't forget, the majority of the data sets and the things that people create in Power BI are not the big models. They are not the very complicated things. They are just a few tables here and there, creating that data set and get going. Not a significant amount of modeling happening. For these scenarios, this is key. And this is amazing. You don't have to do anything. You import the data, you land the tables, you create the relationships, and boom, you have everything that is going. You can now start creating reports, you can connect to it with Excel. You didn't have to do anything else. Now, today also in the preview, everything is going to be direct query mode, but it's heavily optimized. You will see it is quite fast. So that is really cool to see too. Now, why am I super excited about this and where do I position it? Today, the way to think about this is imagine, and we see this with a lot of our customers. In the traditional world, before I joined Microsoft, I was a traditional BI developer. I was doing multidimensional models and report servers and all of these things. Back then, we had access to the box. On the box, we had the data warehouse, we had SSIS, we had the SSRS, we had SSAS, and I can do anything. I can do the full end-to-end solution. These days, and it was an IT project, right? It was business who went to IT and IT went to me, and that's how the projects went. These days, more and more we'll see business units hiring consultants or doing things themselves. Things get complicated because, oh yeah, we create an account for the IT, for the consultant to come in. That he or she gets a premium capacity assigned to them or premium per user, and they can get going. And yeah, they can get going with Power BI, but there's a part missing in the middle. So you have today data flows, or you have Power BI desktop and access, and you have premium capacities, but it's the end of the line really only that they have access to. They're missing the traditional ETLing part. And it's very complicated for them to create a good model that they can use across multiple different reports and for self-service. So they have to work with like file setting inside of SharePoint lists and connecting with Power BI, and then the refresh fails, and it becomes a bit of a hassle. This is where this Datamarts, it makes me so exciting. Your business units can hire a consultant that have a PPU license or a premium capacity, and they can build a full-blown end-to-end solution. Okay, maybe today the automatically generated data set is not exactly what they need yet because they need a more complicated model. Fine. The ETL part is solid. The modeling part is solid for a lot of scenarios, maybe not for the high-end scenarios, but again, this is a preview feature, and I don't know how much we're going to be able to add into the web. I'm not the PM for this feature, but I can see promise here. I can see something interesting happening here. So you can land the data. You can have a full-blown data mart, a SQL Server endpoint. You can connect your Power BI desktop file to it, and you can create any model that you want just by connecting to the SQL endpoint. Then now the modeling is all yours. You can do whatever you want, but you have a rock solid foundation sitting underneath. And like we've been talking a lot about these other things like data mesh and all these other scenarios. This fits in perfectly. Okay, imagine the following. Like, again, going back to the previous podcast I did with the ABN AMRO team, you have data sitting inside of the data lake. IT manages these things. Now you create data marts for your domains using the data marts feature. No need for very complicated solutions. Just, okay, you have a project that you want to go do. Here's the data sitting inside of the lake. Now I just want to get access to it through different variety of tools. It doesn't necessarily even have to be Power BI. It can be Excel and all the other features. You can just connect to that data lake, move that data into the data mart, and now build on top of it from that. Because it's usually not just one report that you want to build. You can build multiple reports. If you want to span different data marts, okay, composite models are the way to go. Maybe even connect directly to the Power BI data sets. That's also a possibility, and then extend it from there. So the things to do are endless. The biggest and most important, and actually we probably haven't even seen what people can do with it because it's so brand new. We've been playing it. We've been keeping it under the radar for quite a long time. We've been playing it with it ourselves. But again, this is not the same as saying you all start playing with it. Now, so I'm really excited about this, and mainly for this reason. We're really giving the business users or departments full-blown analytics product. From connecting to the data sources, to creating a data mart, to creating a data set on top, and so on. And plus a lot of the other functionalities like sharing with the BTB, the roll-up security you created once, it happens in all the layers. That is really exciting. So I am really excited about that. So what about data flows? That's not a question that comes up all the time. Well, data flows is still there, obviously, because it is using data flows. Like, it is the same thing happening under the covers, data flows. Now, okay, why would I use data marts over data flows? Well, first of all, data flows lands the data into a CDM file. It's like a file sitting inside of the Power BI data lake, or when you bring your own lake, it's landing it in there. It is not as performant, it's not as quick. Data marts immediately give you access to fast SQL. The way I would see it and the way I position it, and it's also kind of what they talk about in the professional documentation. If you have reusable components, I don't want to say it, but maybe I'm going to say it, MDM style, master data management style. You have a product table that you have defined, and this is the way that we want to do our products. So this is how we want to do our customers. But several departments are starting to use that into the data marts. They can connect. Like, one of the data sources for data marts is a data flow. So I can just go to my data flows button and say, connect to my products, get me my products, and it automatically uses that as a table inside of the data mart. So data flow is more for the reusability. I like the way Matthew puts it. It is like data flows with benefits. So you can get a lot of cool new functionalities and features with it. But under the covers, it's the same thing. It's the same Power Query engine. It's the same flows that are happening and that are connecting to. So a quick recap. I think we're already going quite long. I am really excited about data marts. And the reason why I'm excited about it is I've seen a lot of projects where people are struggling and missing the piece between the data source and the solution. So now with these departmental data marts that we can start creating, this becomes much easier. It scales much better. It's this reusable. So the data mart that you can create, you can use for multiple projects. You can for multiple analytics projects, but also for a lot of users, this is enough because they don't need more. Like, they don't have to create this very complicated model and all of these things. They just want to do ad hoc analytics. They have the data sitting inside of the lake. Okay, the table structure is one-to-one map. So the way that you create your Power Query defines how your model in the end is going to look like. There's not much flexibility around it, but in the majority of the cases, that's okay. If you now really start to create a model that is for your enterprise HR or something, maybe you have to rethink it a little bit. And today you have to build your own Power BI file on top of it, the data set. But it's for the majority of the cases, it's fine. So This is really why I'm so excited about it. I hope you are excited about it. And probably in a couple of months, I'll do an update and see where we are today and what has been shipping. Because, yeah, we've just shipped the first preview. I'm pretty sure the team has a lot of exciting ideas and things that will happen over time. So we'll do a catch up then. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. And next week, we'll do a session on data mesh with Paul. I already recorded it, but this one came first. And I wanted to quickly talk about Datamarts before we send that out. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.